Service Hospitality House in 1970 to serve those in need. The core mission of feeding the hungry has not changed, but there is a need to address the greater number of people who are not only hungry but homeless. Christian Service has partnered with Hope for the Homeless to serve an even greater number of people. Give hope. Visit ChristianServiceLA.org.
All right, whether you are really interested in the Bible or you read the Bible, but with this show you have to be interested in what Mrs. Flowers is talking about. She's talking about black people in the Bible. And we've all heard, there were a few black characters in the Bible, but not certainly as many as she's talking about on this show. So we talked about, we were talking about Joseph and you were saying that he looked like the Egyptians to his brothers, that they didn't know him, and we all know the story of Joseph and what happened there, he being the dreamer and all that. So Moses, and we talk about Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, all of those people, you're saying they are African descent.
African, Hebrew, Hamitic, Shemitic.
Okay.
The two people merged, the two nations merged. And but anyway, if you recall, when Moses had to flee Egypt, that the Midianites, Jethro's daughters, those people, they mistaken him for an Egyptian. He probably had on Egyptian clothes, the reason why they would say, okay, well, he's an Egyptian. But he had to have that black skin, too, because they know Egyptians are black. And at this particular time, you really don't see the Bible focusing on Japhet. It's like he's nowhere. All of the attention is on the Hamites and the Shemites, children of Shem and the children of Ham. Okay, and so they mistook Moses for an Egyptian. When Jacob died, Israel, the father of the Israelites, when he died in Egypt, and they had to take him to be buried in Canaan land because, that's where that was the land they were going to inherit.
Right.
They had been promised that land.
Right.
They had not taken possession of that land.
Right.
So when Father God said that he was going to give them a promised land, and but it was a promised land that they had came in and got once they left Egypt. See, Egypt was not what was talked about at that particular time. It was talking about the Israelites going into slavery in a land that is not their own by foreigners, and they were going to go there by ship. And so when the Europeans took the children of Israel into slavery, they brought them to the Americas in a ship called the Good Ship Jesus. And they used to call them the people of the book. And now who did that happen to? This is one of the ways that you can identify who the children of Israel is. Because we fit. And like Johnny Cochran said, if the glove don't fit, you must acquit, and so you can't wear it. Okay, so when they took Jacob into Israel, into the land of Canaan for his funeral, when the Canaanites, who all of your pictorial evidence show, your physical evidence show that they were a black-skinned people with nappy hair. And so the Canaanites said, wow, this is a grievous day for the Egyptians. Why? They had lived in Egypt for so long, just like we live in America, so we're going to be wearing American clothing. They're going to be wearing Egyptian clothing when they take Jacob's body into Canaan land to be buried. Okay. You understand?
Okay. Let me ask you this. So I know we talk about the Old Testament and the characters there and the Israelites, because that's what the Old Testament mostly talked about, the Israelites. What about the New Testament, when we see Jesus and the disciples and some familiar characters like Mary, Martha, and Lazarus and people like that? So do you think there were many black people in the New Testament as well?
Well, you know that the ancient Hebrews who were in Egypt, that they are the children that in the New Testament, these are the children of the people in the Old Testament.
Right, ancestors, right. Okay.
These are their descendants who are there. And Jesus clearly stated in the book of 1 John, it says that he came unto his own people.
He received them not.
Into their own land. So where was his own? See, people get they kind of get confused because back in 1945, the name of Northeast Africa, which is where Israel is located, which is where you have the various called the Arabs nations and all of that. They get confused because they don't know that this is Northeast Africa, or so they get confused. They think this is the Middle East. Well, that name has been challenged by a lot of historians, and they know that there's confusion there. Okay, but back in 1945, the reporters, from what I understand, during your World War II, I believe, they changed the name from Northeast Africa to Middle East. And I don't believe that was done innocently. I think it was done to give the appearance that it was not in Africa. So it was in Africa. And so when Jesus was born, after he was born, and Mary and Joseph, they had to get away from Herod.
Right.
And the Romans had told them to, they had taxed them. Father God told them to go hide in Egypt. How were they going to hide in Egypt if there was a different color from the Egyptians? And then how was they going to be there if they were considered to be albinos, or if they was considered to be anything but black? See, and because historians tell us that if you were albino or that particular color, that the Egyptians would have killed you back then. See. And so his 12 disciples, they were all children of the family in the Old Testament. That's just like us. See, our relatives are still on the African continent, and in Northeast Africa, or in the quote unquote Middle East. Now, before you even had the children of Israel, period, you had Abraham. Father God told him, I want you to go into Canaan land. He was going to have to create a holy people so that he could send his son through. So he had to choose somebody. So he chose Abraham because Abraham was a righteous man. That's what the Bible tells us. Well, the nation that Abraham came out of, the Bible let us know that he came out of Ur of the Chaldees. Who are those people? Those are Ethiopians. Nimrod.
And we think about David, who, Jesus came through the lineage of David. So all of that is
black people.
Okay. So David and Samuel and all of those people.
Yeah. Right. See, the land that Abraham came out of was Shemites lived there, and the Hamites lived there. That's who was living there in Haran. You had Nimrod, who the Bible says he's a mighty hunter before the Lord. See, some people try to vilify Nimrod, and I say they're doing that because they know he was a black man. And one of the reasons, brother, why we're talking about that, the reason why I feel so passionate about teaching our black history in the Bible, I had a young lady, a grown woman, I was telling her about black people in the Bible, and she said, oh yeah, I know there are black people in the Bible. She said because Noah had 3 sons, and Noah cursed Ham and turned him black.
Well, we think we've heard that, though.
I said that is not in the Bible. It's nowhere in the Bible.
Right.
And Noah said, cursed be Canaan, and a servant of servants shall he be. We missed that. That he said a servant. That was the cursing on Cain. On Canaan.
Canaan, right.
A servant of servants.
Right, okay.
Do you get that?
Right.
I'm going to be cursed to be your servant. But you're a servant too. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's clearly in the Bible.
Right.
Noah said a servant. It didn't have anything to do with him changing his color. It didn't have anything to do with him having committed any great sin. Noah said a servant of a servant shall he be.
What about,
now that's Bible.
That's right, okay. What was this other, Candace?
Queen Candace.
Queen Candace.
Yes, Queen Candace was an Ethiopian.
Okay, yeah.
And
there are some I'm almost sure are that they were, black people, and that was one of the names, Queen Sheba and Queen Candace and those, yeah. But there were others, that until I'm talking to you, I've never suspected them being African American, well, black people.
That's what is taught, brother, and it's just so heartbreaking because black people. Now, the reason why I think that preachers need to get this knowledge and start teaching it, because a lot of our people have left the church, and they're following Eastern religions and this and that religion because they say, I'm not going to look in this Bible, study this Bible because all these people in this Bible are black people, are white people. This white people wrote this Bible. That's a lie. That's a lie. And
so you think the Bible was inspired? I know it's inspired by God, but you think these are black authors, all the books of the Bible?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, another person that had their identity stolen, and this has come out lately, that King James was a black man. And how did they get that? King James ruled Scotland and England, and you have images of him looking like a black man that was hidden from us. So King James authorized the Bible. He didn't write the Bible, but he gave his approval. That's like President Obama would give his approval for somebody to okay this kind of hospitalization insurance. He didn't write the insurance policy, but he okaying it for it to be the law of the land in America.
Right.
Well, this is what King James did. And actually, you had Hebrews who ruled Egypt for about 200 years. And you had King James was a Hebrew. He was a Jew. And he was black.
Yeah, but we always thought, other than Salmon Davis Jr., we're going to have to take a break and get into our last segment. Salmon Davis Jr. was the only person who, publicly announced that he was black and Jew. We don't look at ourselves as being descendants of the Jewish, race. We're black. And so we never think of black people as being, Jewish for some reason. But we'll take a break.
Okay.
Maybe talk about that a little bit more and then share some more information if you would like to pick up Mrs. Flowers' book and learn more about all of this information that she's sharing with us. So stay with us and we'll be back with more. Exciting.
I was hungry, you gave me food. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. A stranger, and you welcomed me. Naked, and you clothed me. Sister Margaret founded Christian Service Hospitality House in 1970 to serve those in need. The core mission of feeding the hungry has not changed, but there is a need to address the greater number of people who are not only hungry, but homeless. Christian Service has partnered with Hope for the Homeless to serve an even greater number of people. Give hope. Visit ChristianServiceLA.org.
Hi, I'm Ben Utek. I played high school, college, and pro football, helping my team win the 2006 championship. That was an amazing day, but it can't compare to the joy I feel every day with my loving wife and 3 beautiful daughters. My football career ended after I suffered my 5th concussion. Did you know that over 1 million athletes suffer a concussion each year? That includes boys and girls, every age, every type and level of sport. It isn't always clear that a player has had a concussion, so parents, athletes, and coaches need to learn about concussion signs and symptoms. The American Academy of Neurology recommends athletes thought to have a concussion be immediately removed from play and not returned until assessed by a healthcare professional trained in concussion. This isn't just about sports. It's about your brain. When in doubt, sit it out. Learn more at aan.com/concussion. A message from the American Academy of Neurology.
Since 1970, Christian Service has helped the less fortunate within our community. Keeping with the vision of Sister Margaret, we serve 2 hot meals a day, 364 days a year. Now, feeding our community has become an even greater challenge, and Christian Service is in need of your help. Partner with us by making a donation that will allow Christian Service to continue treating our less fortunate with dignity, love, and hope. Call us today at 221-4857.
talking about blacks in the Bible. I mean, black people in the Bible. And of course, I had no idea that there were so many, according to Mrs. Flowers and some research that she's done. This is called the Black Presence in the Lands of the Bible. And she's also written a book that we're going to tell you in a couple of minutes where you can get it from. But let me ask you this. So why is all of this, hidden from us? Or why has all of this been hidden from us all of these years? Like I said, again, I've been in church all of my life, and it's not something that's really discussed a whole lot. Like I say, occasionally we'll hear, the Queen Sheba, Queen Candace, or, the Ethiopian, and they'll say, oh, this was a black man, and that's as far as we go.
Yes.
But none of the other characters, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph,
yes.
we just never assumed. These were all Jewish people, Israelites, God's chosen people, and we were not a part of that until Jesus came and then tore down this wall of partition that
yes.
we all can accept him now, regardless of our race or color or nationality.
Well, it's desired.
Mm-hmm.
Our identity is desired, like the African gold,
Mm-hmm.
because saying that you are the people of the Bible, that gives you a certain prestige,
Mm-hmm.
and you can kind of make people worship you, send you all of this money because you were the people that God chose. But the people that God chose, the Bible let us know they're going to be getting their butt whooped all the time. They're going to get their butt whooped even in the Old Testament because Jesus said, after when they was leading him up the hill to be crucified, and all the ladies and everybody was crying for him, he said, don't weep for me. Weep for your children. Why? Because an army is coming through here. When they come, there would not be one stone left upon the other. That was us. Who, not the masses, but our leaders who had the Romans to crucify him. This is a sin that we have to know about so that we can acknowledge it, so that we can repent, okay, brother? But it's a coveted thing. And I always say that I would not want Ramses' sin. I would not want any of those Pharaoh's sins. I would not want the sins of the Israelites if those sins didn't belong to me. So it's kind of insane to covet somebody's identity, and where you would have to be have all of their sins piled upon you as well. But now we were looking at how and why the deception. We kind of said why the deception. But you've had teachers over the years who have talked about, in fact, a television evangelist, a Caucasian television evangelist, big time person, I don't guess I should call his name, but I have called his name on my Facebook page a number of times if anybody want to go there and see it. But anyway, he said that there was no black people in the Bible.
Oh, really?
He said that Adam and Eve were white. That Abraham was white. Noah and all of his sons were white. Jesus was white. And he don't know where the black folk came from.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And that's what he said. And he was a famous guy. But this is what he said. And I was shocked. And you got black people in those particular, under those particular ministries. And they will fight you if you say that Jesus was not what the images look like, these modern day images look like. Some of
Ms. Flower, let me ask you, so I said before the break, the Israelites, Israel and Jews, but we don't have black people who identify themselves as Jews. So how can we, I guess, make sense of the Israelites being, black people, when today we don't have black people who are Israelites or Jews?
Well, you do have a big presence of black people still in the land of Israel.
Really?
But from what I was told, you don't see them unless you really go over there. And there have been, black people have been migrating back to Israel since the late 60s. They have taken up their identity because they know. And so, yeah, you have a lot of black people from America that have moved back to Israel.
Really?
And people that have gone to Egypt, and they've seen the images, and the people are still there, but the cameras don't focus on them. See, when you look at America, the camera's not focusing on the Indians. In fact, a lot of the Indians that they are saying Indians now may not necessarily be Indians, but you can get a grant if you're an Indian, you know. And so, but the Bible itself lets you know who the Israelites are, because that's how I found out. Okay, it speaks of Jesus, and it speaks of God. Daniel said he was standing by the river, and this was before the New Testament. This was in the book of Daniel. Daniel said, "I saw the Ancient of Days," and the Ancient of Days, you know, is God. Unless the Ancient of Days at that particular time was the image of the Son of God that was to come. But anyway, the book of Daniel, that 7th chapter, says, "I saw the Ancient of Days." And Daniel described him as having woolly hair. See, woolly hair is exclusively black, you know.
And that's how Jesus described, wasn't it? Pretty much?
When in the New Testament, when John saw Jesus on the Isle of Patmos, when Jesus came to him, John said that his feet were so black. Well, his feet looked like they had been burnt in a furnace. So, brother, if you burn your feet in a furnace, will your feet look white? Your feet, that's very black, okay? And John said that he had woolly hair, okay? That's how he described them, you know. So now, I want to show this because these are the various nations who were worshiping an image called the Black Madonna and Child. And that's the image of Mary and Jesus, or whoever they want to call it, Isis and Osiris. But this same image, there's an image like this of the Madonna and Child that is in the astronomical world, that is in the star formations. It has an image of a mother and child. And the Bible said, let these stars be for signs and for seasons. So as astronomers believe that the events that happen on the earth are foretold in the stars. And so this same image is in the stars. Man didn't put that up there, okay? So, but they drew these images. And so these are all, it was just all over the world, really. Because in Poland, you got the Pope. There are images of the Pope bowing down before an image of Black Madonna and Child. And you have in the Vatican Museum, I mean in the Vatican, it used to be in the basement unless they've moved it, there's an image of Peter, a black statue of Peter, that his feet is worn down because it has been kissed so many times, but it's in the Vatican. That's because these people know. It was just us who didn't know. The knowledge was hidden from us.
And what would be the reason for that? I guess you did say a little bit the reason that, you know, that blacks have been hidden in the Bible, or we don't really hear very much about it. There are a few books written about it. People don't really talk about it. What is to keep us feeling that we're inferior?
That brainwashing, you know, because one of the ways that you subdue a people is you remove all of their knowledge from them. There was a documentary on the Mayans. When the Europeans came in, they took over the Mayans. They took their books from them. And that's why when archaeologists have been going over there trying to study the images on the walls and mountains over in the Mayans, studying them, the people over there don't know their language because they took the languages from them. It was just a total brainwashing. And so the people become subdued. And so to keep us subdued, do you know that if you supply a people with the knowledge of themselves, even though the knowledge has been hidden from them, if they are a torn down people the way that we are now, that just being connected with that knowledge, it can build the people up. And I forget the author who explained that so very well. But Carter G. Woodson said that if you take a person's knowledge away from them, that they stand in a chance of being exterminated because they don't have anything to connect with. They don't have anything to show them their worth. J.A. Rogers wrote a book called From Superman to Man. And removing the knowledge from us has been the thing that have rendered us defenseless and have caused us to not embrace ourselves, but to embrace other races. But once we begin to reconnect with ourselves, you know, then I believe this knowledge will, the same way the Europeans took our knowledge and built themselves up If we take our own knowledge, we can build our own self up. Because they took our knowledge to build themselves up because everybody was just calling them cavemen. But they took our knowledge and they built themselves up.
Right.
We need our knowledge to build ourselves up.
Right, and it's a good segue there because we were talking about the knowledge that we need, and this is a book that Mrs. Flowers has written. She's done extensive research, and I say you may agree or not agree, but it's certainly interesting to know. It's In Search of God. It is no surprise the historical evidence found in the biblical lands is full of matters that pertain to religion, Mother Africa, and that played the greatest role in the history of the Bible, the black Hebrew Jewish people. And so all of this is in there. She's saying that there are a lot of people in the Bible who are black, just names that we know, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, all the very familiar names of the patriots of the Bible. She's saying that they are of black descent. Okay.
Yes.
Very, very interesting. Where could someone get this book?
From Amazon. They can order it from Amazon.com, or they can write my P.O. Box. I think I gave you my P.O. Box if you all have it. P.O. Box 438, Greenwood, Louisiana, 71033.
Okay.
Or just Amazon.com. And that's for In Search of God by Bobbie J. Flowers.
In Search of God, okay. How long did it take you to get all of this together and put
brother,
in the book?
I've been studying this ever since the 70s.
Really? Oh, boy.
So,
okay.
yeah, I've been studying it ever since the
Okay.
70s. And so if anybody also having a seminar on blacks in the Bible, I really wish the preachers would come out and get this knowledge. This knowledge on DVD. We're putting together a DVD because we need it. It's going to be the 20th of February on a Saturday at 2 p.m. at the Greater Provision Church, where Helen Godfrey Smith is the pastor there, and it's at 3449 Gorton Road.
Off of Jefferson, that's off of Jefferson
Page Road.
Okay, all right. And in case, I don't know if this show may air a little bit later or whatever, but if you hear that, if you still want to be involved, do you go to churches and you speak to groups or whatever? They can call you or whatever. What number would they call you if they're interested in more?
318-617-2374.
617-2374, okay.
And we're
great.
also going to be back there March the 5th.
Okay.
On a Saturday at 2 p.m. with the same seminar.
And this is at the same
At
church?
the same church.
All right. All right. Thank you so very much,
You're
Mrs.
quite
Flowers.
welcome.
You
God
have really
bless.
enlightened me,
Thank
and I'm
you.
sure those who are watching. So thank you all so very much for watching our show. We'll see you next time on Citywide TV Presents. Take care.